Hello, everyone, and welcome to Week 9 of the OSU Preview. I'm Alex Sutsky, and I'm in the podcast booth by Asa Lucas and Jace Andrews. Guys, how are you doing today?
Well, we've switched things up here in the booth, so it feels a little different, but I'm looking forward to today.
Yeah, I'm in a different position this week.
I got Asa on my right instead of Jace to my right.
Yeah,
we'll see
yeah.
If it
well,
changes the dynamic.
I think that's why your intro was I have Asa next to me because I'm not next to you too much anymore. Huh?
Yeah, true. All right, well, let's start off by talking about beating Texas. Homecoming, 2:30 kickoff last Saturday. It was a 41-34 win, sold out, orange out, 55,509 fans in attendance. Asa, you were the traitor last week, picking Texas to win, and you were incorrect.
How'd that work out for you?
I'm getting flashbacks of fourth grade. I've never been this bullied in my life. I am sorry for picking the team that I thought was going to win. And if it wasn't for one of the craziest self-sabotaging games of 3 interceptions and over 14 penalties, plus 100 penalty yards, and OSU not having a single penalty, it would have gone different.
We'll get into that for a second, but we do have to give props to Jace. My score prediction was off by 10 points. Jace was only off by 6, so you are the winner.
Welcome to
I
the
believe
club,
this
Jace.
is your first win, correct?
No, I thought it was close the first game.
Okay.
We'll have to
I
go
don't know.
back
I felt
and
it was
review.
Asa.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
throw out
The
a challenge
I got
flag.
from both of y'all was just so like, yeah, you don't deserve to be there.
It was such a fun game. It was an amazing atmosphere, but I was concerned. And the Instagram caption for the win? The Cardiac Cowboys.
Absolutely.
Please don't bring that back.
Before we get into some analysis, as we always start off with the Spencer stats. This was his 7th 300-yard passing game, and he is now tied 3rd for career most 300-yard passing games. He had a career high of 57 passes attempted, which is now tied 4th for most in program history. He is in 2nd place for career pass attempts and all-time wins at OSU.
Second place?
Correct.
Wow.
He just needs 2 more to tie, 3 more to win.
Okay.
So, a lot on the line for Spencer, knowing that I still think he's playing a little hurt. I don't think his shoulder is back to 100% like we're supposed to believe it.
I mean, I thought if we're able to kind of dive into Spencer Sanders facts, I mean, 34 for 57, 391 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then 11 carries.
The
I think
stats...
he looked better.
Correct.
Than
He
last
looked
week.
better than the TCU game, but he had amazing stats. I'll give that to him. But some of the throws I just felt like weren't 100% healthy Spencer throws.
Yeah, there was a few, but that's also kind of just Spencer Sanders too.
That
There's
is
some
true.
times
That
where
is
he's
true.
not on it.
I'll say this. It's kind of hard when you throw 50 passes each game, and that's kind of what Spencer has done. So I think part of him not being healthy completely is just he throws a lot. And when you put that kind of stress on your shoulder, especially after an injury, it's just going to take a toll on it. So I think I didn't see a bad pass from him. The interception was probably the worst pass of the season. But besides that, there wasn't really anything terrible. But watching back on the film, there was a lot of risky throws that I don't think I've seen Spencer make this year. But it seemed like he was in a do-or-die moment where, like, all right, I know that this game means a lot. I'm going to take the risk this time. And if it gets picked off, I'll say I tried, which part of me kind of likes. Now, against Texas, yes. Against Kansas State, I don't think we should do that.
And we'll get into that in a minute. Some other offensive analysis. The offense had 98 plays. That is the most since September of 2016 and the 3rd most in program history. Asa, you kind of mentioned this earlier. This was the first time not being penalized in school history.
Yeah, how often does that happen?
However, it's not really true. We had 2 holding calls. 1 Texas declined, and 1 was offset by another Texas penalty. So the stat should have been no penalties accepted.
I'm just saying in general, logistically, if I had to predict it again, I probably would have gone with Texas because this was just a crazy homecoming game, which was what I was expecting.
If you would have asked me in the first half, I would have said Texas was going to win.
And I said last week before going into this, and anyone that asked me about the game, I said it was going to be sloppy regardless. I said there's going to be a lot of turnovers, there's going to be a lot of emotion, and we saw that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think.
But props to Oklahoma State. Like, they showed Texas was coming off this hype, and now everyone was like, "Oh, Texas," since they almost lost to Alabama, and now they were talking about the stupid college football playoff indicator. There was like a 40% chance I guess since y'all were watching, I was at home watching it, and they kept bringing it up, and OSU was at 30%. It's like, stop talking about Texas going to the playoffs, y'all. Like, Oklahoma State is more likely than Texas, and it was shown, but it's that stupid kind of media bias.
Well, as of right now, Texas still has a better chance to win the Big 12 than we do by 50.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy.
It's just the Texas way. But, I mean, hey, all I can say is we doubled Quinn Ewers' interception rate on a injured secondary.
Oh, and sorry, just my last thing. This is it. Quinn Ewers' stats, abysmal.
Let's finish the offense, and then we can talk about the Cowboys' defense, okay? We have to give it to Jaden Nixon with his 51-yard run, losing a shoe halfway through. I mean, that was just amazing. Bryson Green, he had a great game.
An RB1.
5 receptions for 133 yards with a 41-yard reception. Jace?
This game taught us 3 things. First of all, Bryson Green is that guy. He is the number 1 receiver, and we need to use him that way because we found he catches literally everything. And in that game, he made a great catch and a great run after the catch with that game-winning touchdown. And then 2, Jaden Nixon needs to be our RB1, and then Dominic Richardson needs to be the red zone back because he scored 3 touchdowns, absolutely pounding the rock when we got inside the 20.
I also wanted to point out Stephon Johnson Jr. He made his first career start. He's a true freshman out of Houston. He had 6 receptions for 90 yards, which is a pretty impressive first career start, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, he made his name in the Central Michigan game because he kind of came out there, or sorry, not the Arkansas Pine Bluff game.
Correct.
And he started, do well there, and then every pass that's thrown to him was caught, so he kept playing him, and we kept playing him. And now I was like, hey, I'm going to give you a start. So, I mean, that was good. And then Brennan got his first touchdown as well, which was super cool.
Of the season.
Yes, of the season.
Asa, do you have any more offensive remarks before we move on to the defense?
I have none. I'm just ready to add the little bit of salt to this podcast.
All right. I say the defense, while the offense was amazing, the defense kept us in the game. Although allowing 34 points doesn't really seem like that. Asa, I see your face. Let me explain. Okay. We held Texas to only 36 yards in the third quarter and 3 points the entire second half with a missed field goal and 2 interceptions. How can you not say that the defense won us that game?
Well, Texas had 523 total yards of offense.
Okay.
And here's why. So we win by 7 points. Quinn Ewers, we won by 7. Only 7. Do you know Quinn Ewers' total, like his total stat line?
I do not.
He went 19 for 49. That's 30 incompletions with 3 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. And off of those 19 completions, he had 319 passing yards, and we only won by 7. So I'm not sold on our defense. This is the problem. If we are going to play teams in the Big 12 that have good quarterbacks, we just got to hope Spencer can sling it again for almost 400 passing yards, throw it 50 times, and count on Jaden Nixon and count on 3 interceptions. Because still, and granted, Bijan Robinson was a part of the process, got a lot of rushing yards, but I think we were fortunate, and for once, luck was on our side this season.
Asa, I'm disagreeing with you. The defense won us this game by a good margin. First of all, they only allowed 3 points in the second half.
I already said
right
that.
there
Thank
is
you.
huge. And then second of all, what quarterback are we going to face that's better than Quinn Ewers? I know he didn't look good in this game. I understand that. He overthrew a lot. There was some bad passes, and he just didn't look good out there. But Adrian Martinez is a better passer?
Whoa.
No.
We'll get to the future.
I'm just going through the Big 12 quarterbacks we have left.
Okay.
Dylan Gabriel? I don't think he's better. I mean, JT Daniels used to have prominence, but not with the West Virginia team he's with now. I mean, there's just not a better quarterback that we're going to face than Quinn Ewers, who could throw 19 passes and have 319 yards. But you also have to remember, how many of those yards came off the Bijan Robinson little dump pass that was all Bijan?
Correct.
How much did it come off Xavier Worthy with all his yak yards? You got to remember, yes, Quinn looked good in the 19 passes he completed, but we made the first perfect recruit look like garbage out there.
Another fun defensive stat is that we held Texas to 3 of 17 third downs, which is an abysmal 17%. And we also want to give props to Colin Clay, a.k.a. Warren the Cowboys' brother. He made his first start, and he had 5 tackles and a tackle for loss. Looking at the awards, Jason Taylor II is the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week with 2 interceptions, and Spencer Sanders was the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. Jace, do you have a remark?
About that third down thing, so I saw this interesting stat that over the past 32 games for OSU, we've held our opponents to 132 for 484 on third down, which is less than 30%, which is absolutely immaculate. And this game was just another way of that.
We'll have Asa coming around to support in the defense in a couple weeks. I can feel it.
Asa, listen. When we, make Oklahoma score 0 like Texas did.
Then I'm in.
Hey, we're the only Oklahoma school who has scored against Texas this year.
That's
so
correct.
That's all I
All
can
right,
say.
do you guys have any other Texas remarks before we move on?
Horns down.
Horns down.
All right, looking at the Big 12, it was another bad week for me. I was 1-2, fell to 8-13. Jace, 3-0. Asa, 2-1. So Jace now is securely in the lead with a record of 12-9, and Asa 11-10. A good date, if you will. My birthday.
Happy birthday.
All right, looking at last week, TCU beat Kansas State, which we'll talk about that game when we get to the later half of the show. Baylor beat Kansas by 12, and Texas Tech dominated West Virginia 48-10. Do you guys have any takeaways from those games?
West Virginia is kind of a dark horse right now in the Big 12. And Chase Andrews has commented on it. I don't want to play in Morgantown ever.
No. But that's why I'm saying if you don't play West Virginia and Morgantown, they're bad. They're bad. They got crushed by Texas Tech.
So that's a good segue into the number 7 TCU team traveling to Morgantown.
Exactly. That's why I said last week, TCU, watch your backs, because that's a tough place to play.
Chase Andrews made the threat. TCU, watch your back.
Hey, I made that last week,
So
sir.
who do you have coming out on top in that game?
That game? I'm going to still say TCU, just because I do think that they are a top 10 team.
Do you think it'll be like an overtime down to the wire game, or you just think TCU is too good for Morgantown?
No, TCU's not too good for Morgantown, but I think it'll be a fourth quarter game, as Mike Gundy loves to say. He says that all the time. But ultimately, I think it's going to be TCU scoring all the points in the fourth quarter. They'll win by like 7, 10, maybe 3.
Are we already making predictions?
At least for this game, yeah.
Just for this game.
Oh, I have no doubt that TCU is going to go in and steamroll and win by at least 10. Even though Morgantown's a tough environment, Max Duggan, arguably, in my opinion, best quarterback in the Big 12, he's not going to have any problem playing in Morgantown. Maybe the first half jitters, but
correct. And he's played in a lot of. He's played in a lot of big places in his career, so he knows. And not to go too far ahead, but TCU is going to have to play Baylor and Texas on the road in back-to-back weeks. That's where a loss is going to come in. Not this week, though.
I agree. I think TCU will come out on top. It'll be scary for them, but I think they'll be perfectly fine. Moving on to OU traveling up to Ames.
I'm curious to hear Jace's thoughts on this.
Another scary place to play. OU is only favored by 1 point. So do you want Jace to give his thoughts first,
I
Asa?
do.
Man,
Jace, who
you're
are you
making me
picking?
tip my hands, man.
I know.
This is another one of those Big 12 games where I look at and I'm like, who do I pick? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, if it was in Oklahoma, I think I'd go with them easily. But given it's in Ames, it just makes it a little harder because Ames is the same way as Morgantown. The Cyclones just play a little different there. It's not that they play worse on the road. They just play a little different. My biggest thing is Iowa State's 0-4 in conference. OU did look pretty decent over the past couple weeks since that abysmal loss to Texas. Obviously, they had the bye in there. But I'm going to go Oklahoma. I really don't want to, but I just don't think that Hunter Deckers is enough to keep them afloat. I'm just going to go with Oklahoma.
You stole exactly what I was going to say. Dylan Gabriel, he's continuing to progress. He's getting better with Oklahoma. They're going to be finding momentum, and they're going to go bowling. They're going to manage it somehow with that Sooner magic.
Yeah.
Sooner
I got
voodoo, if you
Oklahoma
will.
winning by 7.
I have the upset. I have Iowa State win at home. Listen, I'm already in last place. I don't have much to lose with these
throwing
picks.
out some Hail Marys.
Yeah, so Iowa State is my Hail Mary.
You want Kansas to win this week, too?
Kansas has a bye.
Okay. I was just checking your
So,
knowledge.
of course they're gonna win.
I was checking you.
All right, the night game this week, which I don't really agree with. I think we should have had the night game.
I will disagree. Well, okay. That never mind.
Didn't
I
even
checked that
say
myself.
who it is. Baylor versus Texas Tech.
The reason I was about to say.
I'll go first on this one, Jace. I'll go first. I like my record with giving Texas Tech the benefit of the doubt. And when
They are favored by 2.5.
And we constantly praise Coach McGuire. Lubbock is a very tough place to play, especially at a night game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Sikkim is going to be able to help Baylor out. I got Tech winning that one by 5 and a funky score.
I do agree we should be the night game, but I think if there was another one, I don't mind this being one because the head coach of Texas Tech, Joey McGuire, did coach at Baylor last year, and now they have literally the same record.
But who's ranked?
Correct, and that's what I'm saying. But sometimes 2:30 games are better. I mean, you think about it. Where's the primetime SEC game always? It's 2:30 on CBS. So like, now given that, probably people are going to watch that game instead of us. But that's not the point. I do have Texas Tech winning this one. I think they're on a roll. I think they're playing well. Baylor will go to the bowl game, but Blake Shapen just looks good
Baylor's
for
record
half.
right
Wait
now?
a minute. You're going with Texas Tech?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to pivot right now live on the podcast.
Oh.
I'm going to go with Baylor just to spite you.
Okay.
To tie things up here.
I don't think you're going to tie things up.
Shapen is going to show his true form. And I'm telling you, Coach Aranda with the analytics, they're going to upset the Red Raiders in Lubbock.
Asa 2 seconds ago. The Texas Tech, they always seem to perform when, I don't give them the benefit of the doubt. Immediately doesn't give them the benefit of the doubt, and now they're going to perform.
But to comment on the Jace Andrews style, with the Big 12, you never know how it's going to go.
But he doesn't need to
fair,
give Texas Tech the benefit of the doubt when they're favored.
Dum, dum, dum.
I'm going with Asa, and I'm going with Baylor.
I mean, hey, looks like both of you are going to have a loss this weekend.
Do you guys have any other Big 12 remarks? We kind of breezed through that.
We did. This is a lot quicker than normal what we normally do with the Big 12.
For the Big 12, I think I do want to say this. I still think we're the best conference top to bottom, but we are not getting the playoff. I think...
Oh, really, Jace? Do you think it may be because a professor told you the other day that there's no chance a Big 12 team makes it in the playoffs, even though I've said that all season?
No, because here's my prediction.
Okay.
TCU is going to lose to Baylor or Texas, one of those two. They will still go to the conference championship. And then after that, Oklahoma State, they're going to have a loss. I'm sorry. They're going to have a loss. It could be this week, could be next week, could be sometime in the year we could lose Bedlam, which I would literally hate to do. I'd rather lose to West Virginia. But either way, we're going to lose. And then the Big 12 championship, I think TCU will beat us again, and we'll go to the Cotton Bowl. TCU will go to the Sugar Bowl. So we'll have two teams in New Year's 6, but I think that's why we're going to playoff. I will say, though, to back myself up, I think if TCU runs the table, they'll go to the playoff easily. But
no,
they aren't going to do that.
they're not going to take.
If TCU is undefeated, they won't go to the college football playoff?
Correct.
That's crazy.
That's just, unfortunately, that's the climate of the college football playoffs.
We've already seen, we saw that last year with Cincinnati. Cincinnati was undefeated in a non-Power 5 team when they got in. You're undefeated, you're in the playoff. I don't really know.
I'm surprised at how based that take was, Jace. There was no cap on that.
No. I mean, it's one of those. I am the Big 12 expert, as I might say, but that's not what I'm saying. It's just the way in the landscape the Big 12 has been going over the past couple of years, and so I know TCU is going to have a loss eventually. They were really close against us.
Agreed.
Texas is still a good team, and they're going to have to play them on the road, which is tough. I mean, Bama had a tough time with that, and unfortunately, I see us having another bad game.
Sadly, TCU seems to be the Big 12's only hope.
Correct.
I don't think a one-loss Cowboy team could, unless we win all the rest of our games by at least like 20.
That was kind of my thing.
I'll say at least by 2 scores. Then the committee's going to overlook us, and we'll get snubbed at 5.
That and some crazy things because Clemson loses, the ACC's out. It doesn't matter. Their strength of schedule is not there.
It all depends on if Tennessee continues to win out and if Alabama continues to win out, because then you have Alabama, Georgia. And Tennessee, all from the SEC.
Well, there's a 12-team playoff coming soon, but I guarantee you if there's 3 SEC teams in this college football playoff, there will be a 12-team playoff next year because people will riot and nobody will watch.
And you and I will be a part of those riots.
I literally, I will not watch.
Peaceful protests.
I will watch the third team that is not, which will probably be Ohio State. I'll watch them, and I'll root for them the entire time. The other OSU.
Not even Tennessee?
I don't care.
Another orange.
If there's 3 SEC teams, if it's 2, I'll go for Tennessee. If there's 3, I ain't doing no SEC stuff. That's too much.
All right. Any more Big 12 takes before we look into this week's game?
Just Big 12 fans, keep your eyes on these games because you think this kind of slot of games is pretty standard for the Big 12 with the teams we have on bye week. But these are the games on these kind of halfway through the season, these conference games really can determine whether or not your team's going to a bowl or who's going to end up going to the Big 12 championship. So just keep your eye on these ones.
This week, Cowboys are on the road against Kansas State, and it's their homecoming. So OSU gets to play in 2 homecoming games in a row. OSU in the rankings move up to 9. Kansas State dropped to 22 after losing to TCU last week. They lost by 10. It was a 38-28 win. Adrian Martinez got hurt, and then their backup, Will Howard, got hurt for a couple of plays. So then they had their third string in, but then Howard came back in, but then Martinez was healthy on the sidelines but never came back in, and the team lost. What were your takeaways from that? What did you see in that Kansas State game?
Kansas State is very similar to us in the sense that they rely completely on their quarterback, their starting quarterback. And we saw when Adrian Martinez went down, Will Howard did a great job stepping up. He did fine, but he doesn't bring that kind of excitement and that dual factor just the same as Spencer Sanders does. He can get a first down with his legs or with his arm, and that's the same with Adrian Martinez. So if he doesn't start, as we've seen, or if he's not playing to the best of his ability, Kansas State is going to have a hard time. If you
remember last week, I picked K-State because I picked Adrian Martinez. So I truly do think that if Adrian Martinez had played that game, or even another quarter in that game, they had a better chance to win than playing with their backup. Jace, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, that game was weird. For Will Howard, it's like you said, he's not Adrian Martinez, and that's okay. I mean, he has been in a role where he's had to play a good amount of snaps for the past couple of years. I mean, he was the backup for Skylar Howard last year, who's now in the NFL, and so he played, about 55 or so snaps. Back in 2020, he was one of the main 2 quarterbacks for Kansas State. He had over 168 attempts that year, but he's not Adrian Martinez, and I think that's going to be a big thing going into this game. Is Adrian fully healthy? Is he going to play?
Does anyone know what happened to him?
So apparently it was an injury that he had sustained in practice, kind of like Spencer. And they said, we're going to play him. We're not going to tell anybody because it's like poker. You want to have like a poker face. Don't want to tell anybody.
Understandable.
And in the first quarter, at the end of the first half area, he took a hit after he threw, and he just kind of looked odd. I don't really know what the injury is. I do know he's a game time decision this weekend, and given that, it's a make or break. If he plays,
are you sure that was the end of the first half?
It may have been in the third quarter. Maybe in the third quarter. I don't really remember.
He threw twice and ran once in 3 quarters, which I think it was an earlier injury.
That may be true, but my thing is if it was that early, I guess that means Will Howard. You're right. Then Will Howard must have played most of that game, and then when he got taken out.
So yeah, Will Howard was 13 for 20, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Looking at the play-by-play, Will Howard's first appears with 11 minutes to go in the first. So
I didn't get to watch most of the game.
It was early.
Okay. So then I was going to say, if that's true, then something definitely happened to Martinez if he only threw twice in 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Looking at K-State's offense, we definitely need to watch out for junior running back Deuce Vaughn. We've talked about him for a couple seasons now. He has 744 rushing yards currently, which is half of what he finished with last season. 4 touchdowns and no fumbles. Kind of similar to us, they have 1 leading rusher followed by the quarterback, who is Martinez, and they are definitely a run-heavy team. Spencer Sanders has more completions than Adrian Martinez has attempts.
Yep. Welcome to Kansas State's offense for the past 3 years when they have Deuce Vaughn. This is just going to be like Texas. Bijan was the scarier thing than Quinn. At the time, we probably thought Quinn was scarier, but now we realize that Bijan and Roschon were the scary ones. Same thing here. It's not. We're not gonna have to worry too much about Adrian besides his running capabilities, but Deuce, he'll put the deuces up on you real quick.
So, do you think that Adrian will start?
Yes, I think he will because, no offense, a high-profile game like this, will he play the whole game? I can't answer that.
Okay.
Will he start? I think he is.
Hey, so what are your thoughts on this Wildcats offense?
To kind of go back to one of my earlier comments, they are solely dependent on Adrian Martinez. So for Big 12 quarterbacks in all rushing categories, he leads. So he has more rushing yards, more rushing touchdowns, and I believe more rushing attempts than any other Big 12 quarterback. So that just shows you when you're a run-heavy team and you're running with your quarterback so much, if he's gone, Will Howard can move, but he's nowhere near the athleticism of Adrian Martinez. So I don't know if they're going to similar to Jace, I think they will start him, but he's not going to get a tremendous amount of reps. Like, we'll see him and Will Howard swapping probably every few drives.
You just mentioned something that I do want to bring up that reminded me of something. Eskimo Joe's now has a Spencer Sanders t-shirt.
No way.
Yeah, it's really nice. Jace and I and like 5 of our other friends got it. They're black. You should get one, and then we'll all wear them to the Iowa State game.
How much are they?
25.
But it's a very nice t-shirt. It has Eskimo Joe, Buffy, Spencer Sanders, beautifully drawn. Very realistic.
It's Pistol Pete.
Oh, Pistol Pete and Eskimo
Joe,
Joe's?
Sanders, and Pete.
Okay.
I have a
And
friend
then
I'm
on the
gonna get that
back,
for.
it says, "Catch
Yourself.
me if you can," which I just think is pretty funny. So go support our quarterback and get your Spencer Sanders, Eskimo Joe's shirts. But back to this
Are we
case.
sponsored by Eskimo Joe's?
Get your cheese
I
fries.
wish,
Cheese
yeah.
fries.
Jace, what did you want to say about the Wildcats offense?
Adrian Martinez, again, he's going to play. I don't know how much he'll play. I'm not going to say anything. I know Asa had the prediction of, Will Howard will switch off. I don't know. I'm kind of in the neutral
speculation.
Correct, exactly.
Would you rather face a Will Howard versus an Adrian Martinez?
Absolutely. I'd rather face Will Howard.
I mean,
Well,
yeah.
remember when we had to face Blake Shapen in the Big 12 instead of this Baylor starting quarterback? And then Texas Tech when we faced their backup instead of their starting quarterback? I mean, we won the Texas Tech game, but it was a little scary.
If you look, though, historically, we struggle against rushing quarterbacks this year. Like that Arizona State
I'll give it
quarterback,
to you,
we were kind of struggling with. We're lucky. Quinn Ewers had that 60-yard run. He doesn't run, but he had that 60-yard run, and it was called back.
Called
for
back,
the whole
correct.
game or something.
Here's what I'm going to say. I am 99% sure there's no official report that we're not going to have Jason Taylor for this game. He will not be
Think
playing.
so? And that's a
you-
big hit.
Even if you hyperextend your knee, you're out for 2 weeks. Like, he ain't going to play this week or Kansas. And I think we'll still win both those games, in all reality.
Oh, you ruined your prediction surprise. Come on, Jace.
I mean, hey, I might still pick us to
Jace.
lose. Anyway, so with that, Adrian Martinez, although he doesn't throw a lot, he is accurate as all get out. He is now the only quarterback in FBS without an interception. It was him and the Vanderbilt quarterback, but he threw an interception this week.
Well, and Adrian Martinez didn't play.
Correct, that's true. But I will say he's just very accurate. He hits his slots. And so I think one of those things about, we also don't do good against a rushing quarterback, but think about it this way. Let's say Thomas is still out, and that's also a big hit.
Harper.
What happens? We're going to have to put a spy on Adrian Martinez immediately, right away. And then you have deep go routes on all the receivers. One of them gets open, Jason Taylor's not there. Easy touchdown, he's accurate. Or say he is open, and that linebacker has to go from his position, easy 10-yard, 20-yard run. I mean, he absolutely lit Oklahoma's defense up on the run. What's to say he can't do that to us? So I think he's way more scary because Will Howard, although has some good things, not accurate, still young, not experienced. I'd rather take him.
Well, I don't know what Jace's prediction is. I do want to mention K-State's defense. One player that I think we need to watch out for is Felix Inudike-Uzama. He has 6.5 sacks on the season, which is tied for 10th in the nation. Our O-line last week really did not give Spencer much time to think. It was very quick from snap to throw or snap to run. And so I think that this Felix Wildcats defense player could cause some issues for Spencer.
And with the Kansas State defense, there's a couple other players like Daniel Green, linebacker, Julius Brents, and safety Josh Hayes, who were all a little bit banged up against TCU last week. So their defense isn't at 100% full health, which helps us tremendously.
Right. Jace,
We also have to remember that we may have lost our backup center as well, and then in the Texas game.
That is true.
So
OSU's struggling with injuries right now, but it's very typical. End of October, that's when you see the injuries start coming to rise. Do you guys have any other analysis before we go into our predictions?
I should have something to say. So we haven't talked about it much just because we're a good school and we know about it. But this is our 20th week in the AP poll that we've been ranked in the top 15, which is continuing the longest streak ever in school history. That's pretty impressive right there for 20 consecutive weeks. I mean, if you think about it, that's 2 seasons, just about.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been covering those for 2 seasons. So it's really cool to get to cover a team that is consistently good. And although, this is bad or this is bad, I think the fans have to realize we've been beating Texas year after year. We've been ranked top 15 year after year. You go back to the early 2000s, people can't say a lot of that
Correct.
stuff.
This is the best Cowboy football has ever been in OSU history. So for the little mistakes and negativity things here and there, we hope you're enjoying it because we have been.
And how amazing is that we get to cover it? we're in this time, this rise of Cowboy football.
Heck yeah. I mean, when y'all are listening to this, me and Alex are in K-State right now. I know it's a little,
Correct, yeah.
we're pre-filming this one.
Make sure you watch the Poke Report. It's up on the YouTube. We're on the scene in K-State, and we might have a special guest on that show as well, so make sure you watch that. But let's get into our predictions. OSU has a 54% chance to win. I believe this is the first time in a couple of weeks I've been able to say that. I believe the ESPN has typically picked our opponent to win.
Cardiac Cowboys.
When you face Texas, that ain't going well.
However, Kansas State is technically favored by 1.5 points. The over-under is 56. Asa, why don't you start us off with your prediction?
Even with by some miracle, Adrian Martinez does play the whole game, and as bad as our defense has been against dual-threat quarterbacks, I have the Cowboys winning.
Okay.
This one, though, the Cardiac Cowboys are coming back in full strength. Not excited to watch this one. I'm going to be breathing sighs of relief when we escape Manhattan with a win. I have Oklahoma State winning 27-24.
Oh, man. So do you have like a game-winning field goal? Or do you just think that we'll have a lead and then Kansas State
We're going to have a lead. Kansas State's going to start coming back, but then there's going to be a big turnover near the end of the fourth quarter. Cowboys will jump on top of it or get the interception, and that ends the game.
All right.
I will agree with you that we have had some problems with purple teams this year, and we have also had some problems against K-State specifically in Manhattan over the past 10 years or so. And not that we lose those games, we just play it close. I do have Oklahoma State winning this game. I will say I am expecting to have, at the worst or at the best for Kansas State, an injured Adrian Martinez. If Adrian Martinez doesn't play, I would totally increase the score. But I'm going to say he's going to play but be injured. Oklahoma State wins this one 35-28. Think that Deuce Vaughn finally gets the touchdowns going because, yeah, he has those 744 yards. Dom almost has as much touchdowns as him last game because Deuce had 4 and Dom had 3 this past game. So, I mean, yeah, it'll be an interesting game.
I have the biggest margin of victory for the Cowboys. I have them winning by 10, 31-21. I think it'll be a fun game and a good game for the Cowboys in Manhattan.
31 points is kind of low, but I like the score. I'd way rather that.
Asa had OSU only getting 27 points. We're going pretty low this week.
We are.
Because you have to remember that Kansas State typically only allows 19 points per game.
That's true.
So
this is things you got to research. Jace.
Yeah.
Well, I also,
do you guys have any
got a gut feeling.
Any other comments before we sign off?
I'm excited for Baylor to prove me right and get tied back with Mr. Andrews.
Listen here.
I'm never going to cheer for Baylor so much.
All right. Well, make sure you watch all of the Big 12 games today and the Cowboys later on at 2:30 today for the OSU preview. I'm Alex Tusky, joined by Asa Lucas and Jace Andrews. Have a great day and go Pokes!